Yeah, it's been a really busy day.
Getting ready for tomorrow.
No, we just filled it with a lot of stuff. I mean, along with watching Grayson, we we spent the morning finishing yesterday and today. We typed up about a 50-page recipe book with all our recipes that we wanted, printed it out, and put it in a binder in sheets. We spent 2.5 to 3 hours completely reorganizing a big section of the basement. Um, we we made a big batch of chicken nuggets with some chicken that would have gone bad if we hadn't used it soon. We made a big batch of homemade biscuits and gravy with homemade biscuits too. We planted a bunch of seeds for our garden, like 2 big trays of seeds for our garden. What else did we do? Anything else? Some odds and ends around the house. So, just a really full day. That's on top of taking care of Grayson. Grayson fell down the stairs today. That was fun.
I didn't know he could walk.
Oh yeah, he can do all sorts of stuff. He's almost 3.
I guess he would be start walking around 3 years old.
Yeah, you start walking around like 1.5.
So I don't remember my time as a baby. It's very vague.
Vague. There are lots of boobs. Probably the most you've had in quite a while.
So is your kid doing all right?
Grayson, yeah, he fell down the stairs. He got probably a big bruise on his back, but I saw him falling and I was able to catch him before he bumped his head. He was about to fall down and hit his head, and I had caught him from that. So he just got battered up, and mostly he was just really scared by it. So we held him and we hugged him for a few minutes, and then he saw on the shelf next to us, he saw some gummy worms. He started crying for that instead of wanting hugs and stuff. So it didn't take him very long to calm down, but he had a big bruise on his back. He'll probably still have it. But he's been really, given like how boring this is for a kid, being stuck in a house with literally nothing to do except hang out with 2 adults that are working all the time. He's been fantastic. It's too much to ask for a kid in the first place, you know?
It sounds like he's doing well. Alright. Oh, it's Animal Crossing. So I got the music playing in the background for the pre-show. Hoping that they can't hear you. I don't know if they can or not.
I didn't say anything that was too private. We threw a bunch of stuff away today, and we're going to give a bunch of stuff to Goodwill that we didn't want. One thing we need to learn is, well, I don't know, are we getting rid of anything that we like bought ourselves besides the Peter Potts that was broken? I think almost everything we got rid of was either something that was old and needed to be thrown out and we just hadn't gotten around to it, or it was a gift we didn't want. We get a lot of gifts we don't want. Yeah.
So I was listening to you, but I was just going through my Google News, and this New York Times just caught my attention, and it just says stop using toilet paper.
Straight up.
It just says stop using toilet paper.
Does it say why?
No, I haven't clicked on it. And with that, we are in episode 21 of the Anime4All podcast. We are at the season 4 finale of My Hero Academia. It was a long while since, well, it felt like much shorter than it did, but we are finally at the season finale, and they did something that I wasn't expecting them to do. They ended it with a fight. That was not what I was expecting. That came much faster than I thought it did. And I don't remember. I guess the anime, I've known this for a while now, speeds things up, so things don't happen at the speed that you think they would. And I think maybe that's the problem with this season as a whole. I enjoyed it, probably much more than you did, but if I'm being objective about this season, before we talk about this episode, was that I think maybe there was some issues with pacing. But I don't think the issue is with the anime, it's with the source material. Because Chisaki's arc was very short in the comic. I remember that specifically being one of the bigger reasons that I didn't like the arc, besides the character himself. But
Hmm.
it was very short. Um, I will admit, maybe Chisaki could have done better with maybe getting away, but at the same time, he wasn't as interesting. I don't think I would rather if there was gonna be a character that got away, a villain. I much prefer we lost the viewer. I much prefer it to be maybe Stain, maybe All for One, considering he's been getting away forever at this point. It's kind of weird that he got caught now. Um, I honestly am glad that they ended Chisaki where he did, because I. But then again, I don't know. Maybe they could have made him more compelling if he got away. I don't know. I just didn't like him, his reasoning for everything. To find out that he's the reason why his grandfather is in a coma, and as far as I can
Hmm.
tell, is still in a coma. And he's the only one that can get them out of the coma. So like they're right now in a very weird like gray area. Something tell me that's gonna come back at some point. I don't know because it seems kind of weird that he left him in a coma after all this. So he
Why not?
might. I don't know. It just feels like I mean, granted, it can be nothing, but at the same time, it's like if he wanted to, he could like maybe use that as a plot device. I don't know. Maybe there's something that maybe this is I don't know any of this because like I said before, I will preface this. With next season's like beginning, I already know some of what's happening, but fortunately for me, I stopped myself midway through the next arc, so I don't know. I will let you know definitely when I'm like back at like not knowing anything. But it's coming next season. I expected me to be done with knowing everything this season, but apparently that's not the case. So I know a little bit. I know a little bit more about the next arc, but not too much into it. Because I didn't finish reading to the ending of the next arc, so I don't know. I don't know how it ends. I don't even know what the major conflict is. If there's even a villain, but I do know how it starts.
Is Endeavor going to be in any shape to compete for first place after this fight? It looks like he lost an eye.
I
Because
don't know
I
if I
mean, I
want
would
to tell
think the
you that
next.
because it's kind of like, is
Yeah.
it plot relevant? No, you'll find out. He'll be in shape. He's got a scar, as you already
Uh-huh.
saw in this fight with Endeavor. Endeavor's got a scar now, so it's kind of like I would compare. Granted, All Might's condition is a lot worse than Endeavor's, but it's kind of the same thing that they both suffered a major injury. And well, then again, this fight was public. All Might's fight was no, All for One was not public, so there are differences, but they both suffered a major scar. As if that affects Endeavor's power, I don't know. That's actually
Mm.
what I don't know. I do know that he does have a scar later on, because if
Does he
you
lose an eye?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't
Because
think
his eye
so.
is definitely a big mass of blood in this.
Yeah, he also burned that blood with his hell flames, so I don't know. He might
I
have
just
like
thought
he might have
I thought
just
flames just come out of him.
no well like I don't understand 100% of what his powers are, and thanks to this episode, I got a better understanding a lot of how his quirk worked. Because I mean, not that it was a mystery that I was dying to know, because I mean it was a
Mm.
fire quirk, but at the same time I didn't know they were like it makes sense because he said that all quirks are a muscle. So
Mm.
clearly there was a limitation, and there was also like drawbacks to his quirk, which I think at this point he's the first one I think we've seen who had a drawback plus in a limit that he went beyond apparently. But
Mm.
but I'm not gonna get into it because like his quirk limitations like that kind of get into plot within the episode. But as I said before, they did something I didn't expect them to do, which was Endeavor versus High End. I didn't expect that fight to happen this arc, but um I will say of all the fights that I knew about, I honestly wasn't really that like I wasn't anticipating all Endeavor versus High End of this season. Uh,
Mm.
so season four's big fights are well Miorio versus Chisaki, Deku versus Chisaki, Deku versus Gentle, and then we have Endeavor versus High End. I
Yeah.
think I think those are the big fights that I want to highlight this season. So we
I think so
ended.
too. The reason I brought up that whole thing with Endeavor is because you said I don't know what's going to happen in the next season, and they set up the number one superhero contest, and then I was like, this would be interesting. Building on that, if they were doing the number one superhero contest, if Endeavor was injured and it became a much closer battle because of that.
They weren't doing, as far as I know, this is the second half of the year. I don't think, like I said, I don't know. I know from all the stuff that I've been honestly accidentally overhearing, there isn't any talk that Endeavor lost number one. As far as I can tell. So
Mm-hmm.
this injury, it's more of like I guess I want to say it's more of a superficial injury.
Yeah.
It's more just to show that, like, as far as I know, I don't know what that does to his, if it does anything to his quirk. I think it does something to his
Mm-hmm.
personality, but like I said, I don't know. There are things I did not want to know that I got spoiled on thanks to Google News is like tracking my every movement. So news have gotten just thrown at me that I'm trying to forget. But
Uh, because I was
nothing.
going to say, because Hawks lost basically all of his feathers too. I don't know how fast he gets them back.
I think he just pulls those in from the way that. Well, actually, no. You're talking about the fuzz on Endeavor, but we'll get to that point later.
They all burned up.
Yeah, I know. We'll get to that point later. 'Cause that's near the climax of the fight. But
But I'm saying if Hawks didn't have a way to back too, then his ability to compete in a superhero contest might have been done too. And that might,
I don't think that's how his quirk works. Considering that, according to how his quirk works, he's able to control and like sprout the fellas off his back. I don't think it takes a lot for him to like grow them back.
because he was talking about how he was almost out of feathers and stuff like
Yeah, but I
that.
like my whole basing on that is like, this is nothing I really know. This is nothing I know, but I'm just saying that it seems kind of weird that if his quirk, I'm pretty sure he's lost feathers in fights. So I like, and he's been active for a while. So I highly doubt that he's lost any permanent feathers. I could be
Yeah,
wrong,
I
but
doubt he's lost any permanent feathers, but I was curious how long it takes him to get them back.
I don't know that information. I really don't. Like I said
Hmm.
before, Hawks is a character that I'm actually kind of surprised. This episode. Speaking of Hawks, I'm not gonna say any more than this, but I'm surprised that because there is something that happens with Hawks at the end of this situation that I'm surprised they didn't show at all. So I guess they're gonna begin next season with it. I'm actually quite surprised that they didn't show it. That's all I'm gonna say. Um,
Okay.
it's something that there was something I'm surprised, but we've been pretty much this entire episode is high end versus Endeavor, and it essentially is Endeavor fighting a Nomu from all I can tell, is as strong as the Nomu that All Might fought, but was just a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, and also intelligent. Well, intelligent in the aspect that it could think, which was, by the way, when Endeavor said it was kind of scary, was the fact that like the Nomus that he fought up to this point were just mindless puppets, and this one was thinking, formulating plans on a very basic level, almost on like a primate level. He was definitely intelligent, but he wasn't like 100% intelligent. He wasn't like,
Who who released him in the last episode? Can you remember?
oh, I mean, high end who let high end out?
Mm-hmm.
Um, no, but I know it was some villain. I
They
want to
showed the
say
scene where they let him out. I just can't remember who it
I want to
was.
say it's Kuragiri, but I don't think it's him. No, because Kuragiri got out, so it could have been him.
Mm.
It could have been him. It also could have been a one note villain that let him go.
Yeah.
Because they do sign Nomus as people. Then
Right.
again, also wait a minute, it could have been, was it Dobby?
It was Dobby.
It was.
Definitely, yeah.
Are you
I
looking at
knew
it right
I'd
now?
know it when I heard it.
Oh, okay.
What's that?
I thought you were looking at the episode. I pulled that name out of thin air. I didn't think it was Dobby. Okay, I think it might have been Dobby then.
But now that you said it, that's potentially really influential.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could go into so many fan theories that I have about Dobby and his connection to everybody. But like, speaking of that, I'm glad that I did not see that because speaking of the whole Google News thing, they literally, I'm glad I didn't click on it, but I'm mad I saw it anyway. Dobby and Hawks are on the cover of it, and I was, dang it, why did you show me that Google News? But on the, I
Mhm.
don't know what's going on there. I'm glad I didn't click on it. But
But if Dabi is Endeavor's son, then
Well,
that would be really relevant.
I mean, no, it would be relevant, but like, I mean, they're gonna tell you this anyway. There is another son. The Todoroki has two older brothers, and one of them is unnamed. We saw the second oldest Natsu, when they were with their mother this episode, talking about, and we saw that Natsu is not a fan of his father.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his older sister seemed like she was kind of defending him to a certain extent. The mother was also defending him as well. Also, this is the proof I was talking about all those months ago. He hasn't physically seen her, probably because of some shame or whatever, but he has brought her a flower. A flower, by the way, that she only told him once that she
Mm-hmm.
liked. Like, so I would say at the end of the day, he's not all bad. He's got issues. I'm not sitting there
Mm-hmm.
saying that he doesn't have his own issues that he needs to solve and his own family issues that he needs to resolve too.
It's
Um,
amazing how strong Stockholm syndrome is.
Again, there was no proof that he's beat his wife. She got crazy scared and burnt her son's face. I'm not going to deny the reasoning for it, but there was no proof that he was beating her for her to get to that point. Half the time, from my understanding, from looking at the scenes that he's been in the the explanations given by the people involved, it seems like Endeavor wasn't even like that interested in being anywhere near his wife throughout that
Mm-hmm.
entire situation. How he could have beat her, I don't know. If he was nowhere near her, because he never, Fanatsu, he even brought up the fact that like he never was a father to them. He never was around them the entire time. So there's nothing he couldn't have physically done anything to any of them.
Why did they say they drove her? He drove his mother to doing that.
It's a typical thing of a kid doesn't know what's going on, and this is how they saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying he didn't. He couldn't. No, let me free. I'm not saying he couldn't. I'm just saying that there's no proof that he did. The
Right.
only proof that we have is from Todoroki himself saying that he drove his mother to burn his face. When all the scenes that we've seen, objectively speaking, Todoroki was 100% positive that he was beating her or whatever. We would have seen from his own memory of scenes of him punching her. And also due to bad writing or whatever he said, or bad wording, he said he put her in a hospital, which was very bad wording.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very bad wording on this part. I'm not defending that, but I'm just saying he's not 100% bad guy. He's not 100% piece of trash. This is also coming from me, who I want there to be a really cool pro hero that uses fire abilities, and there's no other pro hero like that. Not one at this
Huh.
point. So there is a little bit of bias, but there is no other pro hero out there that uses flames. Nobody. Not one. I can't even
Well, there'll be
think of one.
Bakugo soon.
I'm talking about an active pro hero, not a kid or a student.
Yeah, but he will be.
But he has no
We've only
fire. That's not a fire ability. That's just
we've
like
only
not.
seen like what 20 pro heroes.
But they haven't brought another pro hero that uses flames. They've done a
The
good
only
job
other
at.
pro hero that has anything resembling an elemental attack at all of any type is Cementos.
That's Earth.
It's cement. It's close enough to Earth where we can almost call it an elemental. And then the only other one that has anything resembling an elemental attack is maybe the one that can make the constructs out of Earth.
Well, back on to the episode. Talking about the episode.
Mm-hmm.
This entire thing was just his fight, and as he was fighting High-End, he was also getting overtaken. I don't remember a lot of this, a lot of like the nuances of this fight, but yes, High-End was definitely stronger, faster than him. But for whatever reason, High-End, like, he was still able to, at least deal with him. Granted, it took Hawks' help to send him flying in the air because he can't fly.
I did not interpret high end as being stronger than Endeavor. I know that high end says that he was, but at the beginning of the fight, Endeavor says that since you can talk, I'm going to try to keep you alive. And you see him doing it, and then partway through the fight, he basically says, "All right, well, forget taking you alive," and he lets all out even more. But I think that one of the reasons that Endeavor didn't do as well against this thing in the fight is because he underestimated it earlier on, thinking that he could take it alive. And then once he stopped being less careful, he was injured, but he was still able to defeat it.
Yeah, I could take that. I just he said I thought he said that he was stronger, that the high end was stronger than he was, and faster.
Well, we know that's not true. He might have been faster, but we know he wasn't stronger.
Yeah, I could take that. I mean, I was just fighting with the whole idea because I'm pretty sure he said it in the fight. Even though, granted, by the end of the fight, we know that wasn't true. He incinerated his head. 'Cause by the way, for no moves that we've seen,
Mhm.
the one thing this thought came to my mind when I was seeing this fight happen. We know that the fact that the no moves were made to fight All Might, at least at his peak, but because that I guess All For One knew that All Might was already injured, these no moves were excessively stronger than they need to be, but All Might was still able to take them down. So I'm actually kind of curious, like, when did he start making these things, and why did it take them so long to manufacture at least one of them to come out to attack?
This is stupid, but All Might didn't actually defeat his opponent, did he?
With Noma?
Yeah.
By defeat, what do you mean? Because he knocked him into the stratosphere.
But the Noma itself was not injured; it was just moved, right?
Well, yes. If you're talking about semantics, yes. Because the Nomu was sent flying, and he was. I mean, the whole idea was that All Might had to punch him so fast that his abilities for regeneration and then absorption were just completely null and void, just so he could send him fly.
But wasn't it the fact that he lost his connection with the people that were giving him orders? Wasn't that what shut him down, and not damage? I thought they knocked him way off, and then they just kind of like.
I mean, All Might sent him flying, and he landed in the forest, far away from anybody that can give him any instruction. But I thought Kurogiri was close enough that no, he's still at the. I mean, semantics aside, All Might defeated that Nomu. He didn't damage it, by no means. Yes, he didn't damage it. The entire fight, Nomu was damaging All Might.
Well, the difference, I think, is that in this case, Endeavor actually more thoroughly dominated this thing than All Might did. Like, it was more luck because it was work or anything. So it wasn't like some strategy of All Might's to break his connection with the people that were giving him orders. They didn't even know what the thing was at that point. It was just luck that he didn't just knock it somewhere to continue its rampage.
I get that, but the more I guess what I was really getting at was like, we as we've seen these Nomus show up, because we've seen, as you brought up like last several podcasts, that we've seen Nomus pop up a lot, so much that I've forgotten about them because of how irrelevant some of them are. We only had a couple that were relevant, such as the one that All Might fought, the couple that were definitely really dangerous, the ones that could regenerate. And during the Kamui incident where Stain was, and then this one, but I feel like there was one in between that there was one in between, but I can't think of it. But I guess one thing that will comment about all these no moves, at least besides the ones that were in the Kamui incident, were that Endeavor brought up the fact that like this one was black, and then the one All Might fought was black. Race jokes aside, I know it was kind of race jokes aside. Apparently these ones were the more dangerous ones, and Endeavor said that because of the one that he was fighting, the one they call high end, because it could think, this one scared him the most apparently. And I will admit that this actually this was some, I think we speculated this, like what would happen if one of these things could think. Maybe we didn't. We could speculate now. Granted, we already seen, but the problem with this one is this one wasn't fully This one wasn't fully baked, so it was still kind of like animalistic and it's animalistic to a point. It was capable of forming words and sentences, but it wasn't capable of full on thought. Like, imagine if they were able to make the perfect Nomu and they're able to manufacture it. That one that Endeavor fought would have been nothing compared to like a one they could have probably made that would have actually been able to think on its own.
Yeah.
Like that entire thing.
But still, Endeavor did a better job against his than All Might did against his, and fought it more responsibly too. He brought it up in the stratosphere where it couldn't do damage to the people. Whereas All Might, like I said, he as far as he knew, he just knocked it somewhere else to continue its rampage on some other area.
I don't know what All Might's intent was in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you had to nitpick his fight, think about it, yeah, he didn't really do none of his punches put a crater into that. I said the only time that that no one ever got hurt was when the gate closed in on no, because that gate didn't even chop him in half. The whole intent was to chop All Might in half.
I mean, All Might did the only thing he could do. He couldn't.
He did damage that. He did damage that Nomu. Remember, that's how they found out that that Nomu could regenerate.
Yeah. But when he knocked it off into the stratosphere, I don't think All Might actually thought he did lethal damage to it.
Well, he said, and I still don't understand this. He said that in his heyday, he could have taken that thing out with 5 punches. So he was weaker. So I mean, I don't know. Granted, I still stand by the whole fact that I think these Nomus were designed to fight All Might at his peak, but it seems there's kind of a hole there because All for One knows that All Might was damaged. So yeah, I don't know like what the initial intent of these Nomus were and why they're constantly being still manufactured at full strength.
Wouldn't you if you can make them and you were evil?
I mean, yeah, that's beside the point. I'm just sitting here like, All for One's in jail right now, and these Nomus are constantly being made, and they made one semi-capable of full-on thought. It literally took the next hero to take it up into the sky to pretty much not eviscerate it, but like just straight up burn it, like send it to hell. Like it's literally what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
It literally.
What season did he have that fight with that second Nomu? Was it at season 1 or 2?
You talking about Endeavor?
No, All Might versus the Nomu.
He only fought one Nomu that I'm aware of, and that was in season 1. That was the finale. No, wait, that was the episode before the finale.
Okay.
I mean, then again, he didn't. I guess it was during the Kamui incident. We did see him, like, I guess, punch a couple of Nomus out, but it wasn't like a one-on-one fight. So yeah. he did fight another Nomu, but he knocked it out.
It was like a worthless one.
I think a lot of those Nomus that came out in that incident were like worthless. I mean, the ones that were capable of regeneration were the bigger threats. In that one, Endeavor incinerated that one, and then this one he incinerated this one. Even though it took a little bit harder. I mean, this entire fight he was trying to figure out how to take it down. At first, he was trying to take it in, and so they can observe it, but it was making it very hard to observe it. Granted, this entire fight, like they were going back and forth with hits to the point where Endeavor literally got a scar on his left cheek through his eye. If that eye is still there, I don't really know, because we definitely did see when he was using his hell flames, that scar area was being burnt with fire, so he could have probably cauterized it, so it stopped bleeding. So if anything, maybe, because I know, like, I think the eye is a piece of flesh, so I think it can like grow back. So if he did lose an eye, he's gonna get it back. But yeah, I guess like there was like a lot of like story tidbits in here, like showing how the family felt, at least the kids. During his fight, we also saw that Todoroki was watching the fight, and in one scene where I think his father was like laid into the ground, we saw Todoroki almost like light a flare on his hand where the fireside is. Let's get a little bit of information too that I forgot about. This was apparently one of the main reasons why Endeavor was so hard set on getting a kid that had both him and his wife's powers is because his power
Mhm.
overheats the body, and apparently it hurts him, and he couldn't find any way to deal with that. Apparently, in like the wiki that I did read on him and his power, she also helped him out to cool him down. Uh, So whenever he was doing hero work back then, she was there to help bring the heat down. Which was he was complaining about that heat the entire fight in his brain. But we got just to know a little bit more about the man who is Endeavor. Not a lot.
Mhm.
So we got some explanations towards some of the things he did. I guess another thing too with the whole fan thing. That fan was still there cheering him on, even though he literally ran off after having to have a handshake with the man who was trying to give him a handshake. He was the only one who
Mhm.
literally the entire city was literally freaking out, but he was the only one saying that you see that he's still out there fighting, right? You can see the flame out there, right? He isn't dead yet. Which apparently was him propelling himself forward with the flames on the back of his feet and his back, which is actually kind of funny in retrospect. He was a gimp just like flying forward with his fire powers.
I know,
So it
but
was pretty.
it was cool that he got a little help from Hawks. I mean,
Well,
as
I
much
mean,
as you say you don't like Hawks, that was a pretty cool
yeah,
co-op from
I
the two of
know.
them.
I'm aware, but the main reason why I don't like Hawks is going to come up later. But I will
Yeah.
say that it's kind of funny too that speaking of fans, it looks like I'm not sure this is what they're insinuating, but back when Alma was still active and Endeavor was trying to become number one, it seemed like that he made Hawks seem like he was like inspired by Endeavor to be serious and I guess go out there and be a hero. Because apparently
Mhm.
he was saying that his entire, I mean, it sounds like they were making Hawks a fanboy of Endeavor. I don't really know, but again, he was talking about he was no one else saw it, but you were the only one out there going out there seriously to surpass All Might, which is actually interesting. I guess dialogue in a way because we know that people are always trying to become number one, but All Might always took that spot throughout the entire years that he was active. But we only really heard about one person who was trying to surpass him, and the world knew this was Endeavor. So it seems kind of weird
Mhm.
that Hawks brought the fact that no one else is really trying to seriously do that. Um, but I guess it kind of makes sense considering that no other hero out there was literally anytime All Might was ever mentioned during it, people said that he was their number one hero, and I guess in a real way, and it was also Endeavor's number one hero too. Uh,
Yeah.
it's like like, for better or for worse, All Might inspired Endeavor. Uh, for better or for worse, I don't know how to go any further than that, but I think this fight was the most emotional fight I've ever seen Endeavor involved in, and I enjoyed every minute of it, even the animation.
It was by far the best Endeavor fight.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it was better than that fight that he did with like that other Nomu during Kamui.
Yeah. But I mean, he hasn't been in enough fights yet. I'd still like to see him in a few more.
But I mean, he's still alive for right now. I don't know if he dies or anything. I just know he's still alive right now, and that scar is indication. So I don't know if he dies, Jock. I'm just as close on that as you are. I
The
know you.
scars are kind of cool though because like they continue the theme of explaining the cost of being a hero. Like they've every single time there's been a theme of sacrifice in the heroes in My Hero Academia. They all lose something for what they do.
Yeah, speaking of that, I guess we could talk about this now with Endeavor's character.
Mm-hmm.
His fight with High End. By the end of it, he mentioned that like this High End's obsession with strength is him or could be him in the future. And essentially, he's incinerating it to say goodbye to that part of himself. So, this is, as the episode called it, his start. This is Endeavor's road to redemption now. What he
That's
does with
pretty cool.
whatever he does with it is up to him at this point. But the people that he's affected in his life, such as his wife, his children, they're all gonna probably still resent him. But as we saw this entire episode too, we saw at least with Todoroki, he was coming to terms with his father. At least that's what I thought was happening because during his like panicking that he thought his father was dead, um, he almost used the fire sword that he never he claimed he was never ever going to use. He literally almost lit it up. Now, did that come from shock? I don't know, but it was just one of those things where it seemed like for somebody who didn't really care that much about his father, as I said before, I think he still got some baggage that he needs to deal with. Like
Mhm.
both of them do. Um, but yeah, it's like it was kind of cool to see Todoroki watching that fight, and in his mind, it's like it's almost like how Midoriya was always like cheering All Might in the background. Even as a kid, whenever he was cheering All Might in the background, uh, it seemed like I think a little bit of that I think that a little bit of that hope Todoroki I guess wanted to feel was kind of there or wanted to be there, and I guess I don't know, it just seems kind of weird that like he resents his father, but it's just kind of weird that he's in the background cheering him on.
What was the name of Vegeta's finishing move on Boo? When he fought Boo and he did that blast and he ended up like
You mean the blast with the three fingers pointing forward?
no, where he ended up like Ash. I remember it made a ball of energy around him and he used up
I
all
think that
of
was
his
just self
energy.
destruct.
It was basically a self-destruct move, but it has a name.
No, I think it's
But
literally just called self destruct.
I think it has another name.
I
But
played Dragon Ball Z Universe, and I think that's what they call it.
okay. Anyway, I was reminded of that when I was watching that because like I know that they weren't watching Vegeta on TV, but they were like in the lookout and you know what I mean, and looking and feeling the energy from far away and stuff like that. And they all kind of like watched Vegeta make that noble sacrifice.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? On the Dragon Ball equivalent of watching it on TV, which was sensing energy and watching from the lookout. And Vegeta like gave it his all. And I was half expecting Endeavor to die in this fight and do something really similar to like Vegeta's final attack because it felt like that. So when you say it's the beginning of his redemption arc, it's really interesting because that move when he like sets himself ablaze to like try to finish off Boo and do something completely selfless was the beginning of Vegeta's redemption arc in Dragon Ball, in my opinion. Because ever since then, like all the way through Super and everything else, like Vegeta's been much more good and purely heroic and far less selfish. And I feel like maybe that could be the signal of that kind of shift for Endeavor. That he's
This
not
is
that he
where
was.
the hope for this is where my hope. I'm gonna say I know you joke around and you talking about my fanboy Endeavor. I'm not really that much of a fanboy of Endeavor. I just more I want to hope that he can be a decent guy. From what I did look up to this point when I was reading it,
Mhm.
I really wanted to hope that maybe because like I wasn't a fan of Endeavor. I hated the guys as much as everybody else did. But it's like it's funny how like characters that I usually don't like who are a part of the main cast usually are like an a hole most of the time anyway. And the
Mhm.
funny thing, I know a lot of people are gonna like this is gonna be an unpopular opinion, but unfortunately, this is what I'm gonna say. A hole characters that do a 360 are typically the better and most well developed character of any freaking series because they have trials and tribulations they got to go through. They got to fight their old intentions with new intentions. They gotta make that resolve to change.
Mhm.
And no one else is gonna be there to make that resolve for them to change. It's the same thing with Vegeta as a perfect example. When Vegeta was first introduced to the series, he was a villain who was stronger than Goku, and Goku had to overcome him. And the moment that Goku did overcome him, Vegeta started having superiority issues and stuff like that. Him being the Prince of all Saiyans, and how biologically Vegeta should be stronger than Goku. And he spent most of, if not all, the arcs that he'd been up to up until he self-destructed, and during the Boo arc when he first tried to kill Boo that first time, he was suffering from issues with being weaker than Goku, and eventually kind of came to terms with being second to Goku, only to be told later on that apparently he should be as strong or stronger than Goku. Um, but for the reason he's just unable to reclaim that spot that he once held. Because that's also an unpopular opinion that Vegeta is stronger than Goku. Because technically speaking, yes, he is. He was stronger than him when he first got introduced to the series. Like
Hmm.
Vegeta was a hard fight for Goku to win. Vegeta nearly only almost killed him. So I think if anything, no reason Vegeta lost that fight was he got cocky. If I can make the distinction, I think that's the only reason he really lost that fight. He got real cocky.
Against who?
Goku, that first time he fought him.
Oh yeah, totally.
So yeah, I mean, I won there. I'm holding the torch, the torch of hope that maybe this is not be lost. I got a hint accidentally that maybe it isn't. So like, I mean, there's still that hope. But yeah, I gotta see more fights of Endeavor. I don't know of any more fights that are coming up. So whenever he fights again, it'd be a shock to me. I
Hmm.
guess another thing too, speaking of this whole like, I guess changing of opinion or changing of just a little bit of your opinion. The world was looking at this fight and they were just all worried about dying and whatnot. I mean, even though they had the right to, that Nomu literally got away from Endeavor when when the Nomu thought he killed him. And he started looking around the city looking for this person to kill. Everybody just lost their collective mind. It's like, oh, they don't have a symbol of peace. It's what happens when we don't have a symbol. And I guess another thing too is like, speaking of that whole thing, with all my watching this entire situation, I'm pretty sure he felt helpless. But I found it funny that when Endeavor got back up and then let out that last prominence burn, and he got back up and threw his fist up, All Might
Hmm.
literally took a deep breath and sat down. I
Yeah.
was like, wow, he nearly gave All Might a heart attack.
Well, there's definitely like I think there's always been a big drop from All Might to Endeavor, but I think Endeavor down to the next most powerful hero is a big drop too. If All Might is a 10, then like Endeavor's an 8, and I don't think anybody's more than a 6. Like
I mean, like I said before, like I said this before, and I always stated that Endeavor earned his number 2 spot. He didn't.
yeah,
He didn't get there by sheer luck. He earned it. For all the records that all the stuff that he said he did, regardless of his intention, he earned that spot. And we in the little bit that we did see of his personality back then, he definitely was a hard worker. Um, it just wasn't the most social a person. You wouldn't invite him to your turkey dinner. He probably light it on flames. But um, take that joke from you. But he wasn't like he wasn't like, I admit he is not the person you want to talk to about personal issues. At least not right now. 'Cause he's working through
yeah.
his own. But maybe he can get there. I mean, I think one of the things that I think All Might was telling him when he was asking about how to become the next symbol, I think the best thing here was the fact that he was showing the world that at least he wanted to step up to protect them, and he was going to do it his own way. He wasn't going to try and copy All Might because he isn't All Might, and
Hmm.
to the detriment of like the world that All Might created, being the symbol and being the pillar, which I guess is interesting too. How they brought the fact that the world needed a pillar, and I kind of bashed that whole idea several like episodes ago. But like looking at the panic this world was in when All Might was gone, like I can definitely see that All Might was right. They needed somebody to at least depend on, and
Yeah.
when all the hero was out there, it seems kind of silly that they would all lose their collective minds like that instant, because it almost seems like they were hoping Endeavor was gonna win, and then he got knocked on his had knocked on his face, and everybody just said, "Oh no, number 2 is down. Number 2 is down. Activate Order 66."
Oh wow.
That's what happened. Everybody lost it. It was like, geez, man. Like, so much for having that, like, at least trying to give Endeavor the benefit of the doubt. Everybody just said, screw it, I'm out of here. Like,
I mean, who after Endeavor, who would you fall back to? Like Best Jeanist? Like seriously, like
I mean, Hawks. I
who's
mean,
the next best? No, because Hawks already said he's not good against power types.
but
He said he's
listen,
basically
listen. I'm just gonna sit there and say to Hawks, well, I'm sorry, buddy. You're number 2. You are literally the next best thing. Unfortunately for you,
Hmm.
man, you're gonna have to take up number one until someone else shows up. Because Deku isn't gonna be dependable right now. And
He's
but
number two because popularity is a factor, though.
that is also
I don't
true.
think he's
But
number two because he's the most effective hero.
I understand. But at the same time, it's like I said before, who else is there? I mean, Kamui Woods maybe, but like he's like number 6 or 7,
Hmm.
and like right now he's trying to go up the ranks right now. He's like doing everything he can. So if anything, like it probably be Kamui, but at the same time, it's like he's still a new
Like,
hero.
ratings aside, like if you were to totally ignore ratings, who would your number three be if ratings didn't matter at all?
Of all the heroes that we know about,
Yeah.
Eraserhead, and I just think he's the most effective of the squad of heroes, especially since he isn't on the number board for whatever reason.
Hmm.
I mean, well, no, take that back. He doesn't like press, but he isn't on the list, but he should be on the list. Being be,
Eraserhead wouldn't be too bad.
being objective, I think Eraser is probably the best bet. Then, in my opinion, being objective, I think he is the best bet.
What about the microphone guys? Whatever, Mike.
Oh, President Mike, I forgot about him actually. I don't know. When it comes to his power, it's very good, but he doesn't have like environment control. Like when he yells, it covers an entire area. And considering that, the places that people fight in this world are like in glass buildings, I can only
Hmm.
imagine that can just get really bad real quickly.
Yeah, well, unless you have a support item.
I think he has a support item, but it doesn't. I don't. As I haven't seen him in a fight, and that's the thing about it. He hasn't been in a fight. He's a pro hero,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen him fight.
But nobody else can really throw down. Like, nobody else has a lot of power.
I would say maybe Death Arms, or maybe what about that person that Sue interned under?
The water hero?
That Seal dude. He seemed pretty strong. I mean, not all might
Yeah.
strong, but he was stronger than most of the heroes that we've seen up to that point.
Yeah, I guess so. I wasn't super impressed by him, though.
I understand he was definitely stronger than most of the heroes up to that point of like the smaller side of heroes. I mean, shoot, why not like Gang Orca for instance? He's placed on the list.
Because I'd rather have the principal than the mouse principal than Gang Marco.
Is he even a hero?
Yeah, well, he's the principal of the university, so I assume he is. Remember when he ran the test and nobody could beat him?
Yeah, but
When
that
he
was.
involved.
I mean, I guess, but I feel like he did it on purpose because he knew that Asui, not Asui, but is that her name? Like the acid chick and who was she even paired with? Kirishima was a tape dude. No, it was
I
electric.
think
It was electric guy.
I think the point is that he's like unbelievably smart. His like superpower is extreme intelligence.
Yeah, I don't know, because the problem with him is that he's already shown that he has a disdain for humans. He just likes to hide it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would trust him. I mean, if there was nobody else, then yeah, I would trust him. But
Hmm.
at the same time, it's like his power is only the result of being manufactured by human beings in a lab.
Yeah.
He's already shown that he has a disdain for humans. Um,
I don't know then because President Mike is the one with the capable of the biggest single shot, I think, of all the remaining heroes after Endeavor.
yeah, but the problem, I mean, I already said it before. Like, I mean, there's no proof that he can't control the spectrum of how wide his voice can go out.
Hmm.
Because he does have a support item, but I don't know what that support item really does. 'Cause I know it tones down his voice because as a baby he blew out his parents' eardrums.
Yeah.
So apparently he had that voice when he was like a kid when he was born, which is
Hmm.
disturbing by the way. But
As we've seen though, Eraserhead is too vulnerable. He's too beatable, like because his quirk only works to eliminate quirks for a temporary period of time. It's a cool quirk, but like he's too beatable. He wouldn't be able to beat any of the big enemies that we've seen so far. I
I
don't.
don't know.
I
I
don't.
mean, up to a point, he almost like had that no move under control until it bent his arm, and then Tomo Shigaraki got involved and decided to decay his elbow.
Mhm,
Like Eraser had that no move. Like of all the people we've seen, I mean, he didn't beat it. But I feel like maybe if given enough time,
mhm,
there's a reason why I call him the Batman of the universe. Because like I feel like I feel like he's tactical enough, in my opinion. You know, uh,
mhm,
because you're right. Of all the heroes, his power isn't physical based. He has to stare at you. But it seems like to me, considering that like he may not be on the billboard, but people
mhm,
recognize him as a hero. Even nerds like Deku know about him because he's
mhm.
underground. So I just feel like to me that I would want to give Azawa a chance. How effective it would be, I don't really know. That's for
I
me.
mean, I'd like to have him on my team. It's just like, how would he take someone like Mustard, for example? You know what I mean? Like where you can't look at him. There's a lot of heroes where you can't get a good chance to look at them. You know?
Well, I mean, he's got that binding cloth, and it's shown to be very versatile.
Yeah. That guy that could change the environment, he didn't have a chance to defeat him because he couldn't see him. There's too many ways to like get around his quirk as well. You know, I just don't. I can think of too many heroes that could beat him without him really having a chance, even with his tactical.
I mean,
Um,
I would say Cementos, but the problem with Cementos is that he needs to be
mhm.
around cement to bend.
But the
And
one that can make columns out of the earth could probably beat him.
I don't know. I don't know how strong her dolls are. You're talking about the girl from the Wild Wild Pussycats, right?
Yeah, but she took on. She was giving all of UA a workout for an entire day with that ability. It's pretty powerful. I think she could probably wear out Eraserhead because Eraserhead, she doesn't have to be near it, so Eraserhead wouldn't be able to erase his quirk.
I guess. I don't know. It's just like I want to say President Mike, but I don't know I don't know the wide spectrum of how his quirk works because they only said one thing about it. Um,
Yeah.
'Cause he isn't like Earphone Jack, or she has to plug in to her boots to eject her, or her hands to eject her heartbeat.
Mhm.
And from the looks of it, it seems like President Mike's power is way stronger than hers.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. But the point is, like after Endeavor, there's a big drop. Don't think. I don't think there's anyone there that could challenge Endeavor now that All Might isn't there. And I don't think Endeavor could have beaten All Might. And I think there's just a big drop off after All Might and a big drop off after in like Endeavor. If anything happened in Endeavor now, there's no backup. Like at least with All Might, we knew that there was a backup. It wasn't a great backup, but it was a backup. You know.
He just won't win. He just won't win.
He's not
he,
All Might. I mean,
yeah,
it's
I
just
know.
100% clear.
I'm aware. I'm aware. I'm being objective. I'm just saying that he just can't win. He just he's either very very at the back of the store to the left by the canned goods discount All Might, or
Mm-hmm.
we're all screwed.
He's like you got tricks, but the rabbit is like the brown grocery store brand
Here's
rabbit instead of
he-
the white rabbit.
here's what I will say. I guess as we end this off here, here's what I will say. Because it seems like Endeavor can inspire people in its own really weird, funny way. Um, I feel like there's going to be there's gonna be somebody who might be able to take number two from Hawks. I'm not gonna hold my breath on that because right now, as far as I mean, I know Hawks said that like he can't compete on the power department, but I don't really know because like it seems kind of weird. Because even during that fight, he was still very lackadaisical. He wasn't like he was doing more to avoid getting into the fight. Granted, he definitely did save a lot of people. His quirk is very useful for rescue. Um,
He seemed like more of like I thought he was setting himself up as a sidekick for Endeavor.
I don't know. I mean, you think that he may be like this might be his personality. He's like I don't know. Like it just seems kind of weird because he's very manipulative, and he managed to
Mhm.
manipulate Endeavor, uh, who, by the way, is probably the biggest dick of the entire series. He managed to manipulate that guy. Um,
Bigger than Bakugo.
yeah, my long shot. At
Bigger
least
than
with
Great.
Bakugo, at least with Bakugo, I mean, and I'm not saying that Endeavor hasn't earned his right to be an asshole, but still, I feel like at least with Bakugo, he's still young enough that he can easily be changed. Like Endeavor is like he's got to be in his 30s. Let's see, maybe
What are you trying
40s.
to say? What are you trying to say?
For everybody who's
Excuse
not,
me,
for
sir.
everybody who's not aware, apparently he thinks I'm attacking him.
It was a little hard not to take that one personally. Being 40 and all.
that wasn't that wasn't my intent, but I'll take it.
He's like, he's no spring chicken. He's actually rather old. I bet he's in his 30s or maybe even 40s.
That was not my intent, man. You know it.
Oh my gosh.
But like, I don't know. I mean, Hawks is very useful, and if anything, I highlight Endeavor is not the one I see taking a sidekick. So even All Might didn't want to take sidekicks, but he took on that one dude. So I don't even know. Like, All Might didn't want a sidekick, and he's like the nicest dude in the entire freaking universe. Like,
But it's Endeavor like grudgingly admits that he needed the sidekick after it being demonstrated just now.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that it's not impossible. I'm just saying it's like when you compare that to All Might, and then
Mhm.
All Might. Granted, All Might doesn't need a sidekick, so I mean, I guess you can't really compare that. But
Like Hawks could be like after this fight, Hawks could be like, not only would you have killed tons of people in that fight, but you would have died yourself because you couldn't move. Like, I mean, really, like, and towards the end of this, like, Hawks had saved all the people from the collapsing building. Hawks had gotten him out of the way so that he could use his full power and not hurt anybody. And Hawks was the reason he could move for most of the fight.
yeah, I'm not denying any of the stuff that Hawks did. Everything he did was like on spot, like on par. It just seems kind of weird that he does not want to be number one.
And what I'm saying is, like, if he did decide to be Endeavor's sidekick, Endeavor would have a really hard time saying that he didn't need one after that fight.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he'd take Hawks on, mainly considering that like during that fight before Endeavor got knocked down, like he's like, why aren't you flying away, Hawk boy? It was like, you're like, I can't. Oh, you know, my you've been burning away my feathers. Sorry. I was like,
Yeah.
that was shocking. He actually apologized. Like, I mean, joking aside, it's surprising. He actually apologized. I mean, I don't know whether that was just knee jerk or not, but he actually apologized to that. So, now I'm not saying I wouldn't. You couldn't get hard pressed to get a better sidekick than Hawks. Which, if that's what Hawks is trying to do, then good for him.
Mhm.
But like, basically, I'm having a hard time. I really want to say what I want to say, which is like why, but I don't because it's been something you've been speculating on for a while now, and I kind of wanted to pay off.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say anything, but I mean, you couldn't get any better than like, I mean, maybe Kamui, but I think Kamui will get burnt and almost get killed being a sidekick to Endeavor.
Yeah, they're not a good pair.
Maybe
But
like,
that's the thing. Like when All Might had a sidekick, the sidekick had specific powers that could benefit All Might dramatically. And Hawks has specific abilities that can drastically benefit Endeavor.
you know, I just feel like he's got an ulterior motive. This is my like. I feel like Hawks got ulterior motive, and it isn't in the best interest of Endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
What is that noise in the freaking neighborhood? Sorry, I'm just hearing him like honking in the background. But I guess we can move on to the ending scene. Um, Deku is dreaming, and all of a sudden, he starts dreaming about 8 individuals, and then he sees 2 men with white hair who look like they're about to fight. Then all of a sudden, the man on the ground turns around to Deku and just says, "Oh, you are the ninth," and it cuts off. I'm pretty sure that everybody knows what he was about to say there. So there's not gonna be there's no shock that I think that entire situation. Well, I already know. I can't even play around with that. The entire, like that entire thing was like something to do with All for One. What I want to actually speculate with you is what do you think is gonna happen in this scene? Like granted he's already woke up, so he's not dreaming again. But what do you think is gonna happen when he dreams again?
I don't know.
So I guess what you had to say about what you had to say about the other eight individuals that you saw besides the girl of all the designs. Like, I guess which one of the characters that you saw in that line next to Deku stuck out to you?
Give me a second. I need to rewatch this. Hang on. Is it the
It's tough.
after credit scene?
Yes.
Oh, hang on. I watched the episode twice, but I only saw the after credit scene once.
Oh.
I forgot to see it the second time around. Okay, so he has 1A Alliance. He's laying in bed, asleep. And then, oh yeah, he has that fog. And I wondered what that fog was because you can see his head in his hand. And I think that's the hand that was injured from fighting all the time. He sees two people with red stuff trailing off of them. And they look like they reminded me of Endeavor, to be honest with you. I know I'm probably just had Endeavor on the mind at the time, but I couldn't help think it was part of Endeavor's family.
I'm gonna. From what I know, that is not correct.
Okay. It was the hair color that threw me.
Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. I don't know why they chose white hair color. They might gonna fix that in the in season 5 because I don't know why they chose white hair. That's gonna trick some people.
That hairstyle like really struck me. The other ones that I see there, the other ones I thought what I thought they were was previous iterations of All Might because they referenced to those in the past.
They're not previous iterations of All Might. They're just previous users of the quirk.
That's what I mean. Yeah, previous users of the quirk. That's all I thought they were, and I knew because obviously we recognize one of them, and we've seen Deku see them in the past, but
not as clearly as we see them right now.
Yeah, like but only as like a distant shadow, not like as clearly as here. But you don't really even see most of them. Like you just get a little piece of their face most of it. So it's not really the best. One thing I've always wondered though is why All Might is the only one that's celebrated. Like you never really hear about the other ones except from All Might or someone that personally knows All Might. So I've always kind of wondered why. Like I know that they get more powerful, but I've always kind of wondered why All Might is the only one down in history. And I'll talk about other great, heroes of history.
Maybe they just lost the time. I know All Might stated that if people knew how that quirk worked, it caused mass hysteria. Uh, so I feel like I'm not sure 100% like that would contribute to recognizing other heroes. Because they made it seem like the other previous users also had their own quirk, and this just kind of went along with it. So
Yeah.
I don't really know. I really I couldn't even pretend to speculate with you because I don't know. I mean, you brought that's interesting. That's actually an interesting question. I never even thought about it. Like, why aren't the other ones even brought up? Like, why haven't like there have been like But I guess another thing too, story and plot wise, there was no real reason to even bring any of the previous users up. I mean, unless you're talking about Nana Shimura, who is the mother, no grandmother of no wait, yeah,
Hmm.
grandmother of the current villain right now, of the main villain. So I mean, other than that, there was really no reason to even go in the past, and I don't even think All Might. I don't even think All Might even was even aware of them or even met the others. Like he probably knew they existed, but he probably didn't know their names or even what they looked like. So he probably couldn't even try to like celebrate them or whatever, even if you try it. It's like
Yeah,
we know his relationship with Nana was like very like as you said very mother and son like. So
yeah.
like she would be the one that be on his mind most of the time anyway.
Hmm.
And I guess another person who would even probably even know these other people probably would be Gran Torino because of how old he is. But
Or Deku himself, because he's such a deep researcher of heroes.
yeah, but you also forget too that he never knew All Might's power, so he never even thought. I mean, no, Chris, he did definitely try researching, but he could never find anything on him. So it was one of those things where he couldn't even like even thinking Deku would have found out. Like apparently they did a good enough job that even Deku couldn't even find out anything.
Oh, I know that, but you would think that he would probably know about the bigger, more history if there was any information to be had about them. Which there seems like there is. It seems like you have to get registered and everything. Hours.
I mean that is true. Like I said, I don't like. I mean, plot wise, there was no reason to even think about them. But like right now,
Well, there
since
is because they talk about how lawless the world was before All Might. So it would be interesting to see if All Might was a huge game changer and if like
I
civilization
mean
possibly wasn't even like as we knew it before All Might.
we know that he was a game changer. As you said before, the
But
world
like
was like
how
pretty
fundamentally
lawless.
was he? Like did he become like make it possible for humans to regain order in the world in the first place?
I don't wait a minute. I don't even. I mean, if you're talking about like the establishment of heroes as a job, that would have been long before All Might was even on the scene. So I don't even know if anybody in that line would have even like would have even been that influential. But then again, it depends since like Deku's number 9. There have been 8 iterations, and I would say if there was any iterations that were before the change in the time period of how heroing worked, it would probably
Mhm.
be numbers 3 to 1. But I don't think we've seen them down there. I don't think we can see them.
And that would also be the weakest ones because the earlier ones would be the weaker ones because this quirk gets more powerful as it's passed on.
I mean, yeah, maybe it was one of those things where like it was powerful for its time or for whatever. I mean, like I said before, like I think they kind of made it seem kind of evident that apparently the other users besides All Might and Deku had quirks.
Of their own.
They had quirks before they got that quirk. Um, that's what they made it seem like anyway. But
But I mean, if this quirk would have lasted, saying that each hero had it for like 30 years, which is a pretty good long career for a hero, that would mean that like with 9 of them and Decker just starting, it would be like 175 to 200 years that this quirk has even existed.
well, we don't know how old All for One is. Um, Judging that we know that he's connected to this like the One for All quirk in the first place. Uh, now I'm not saying he couldn't be a 200. I don't even know because like the thing is we don't know what he looks like because his face has been destroyed, and that's insinuating that like All Might was the reason why his face got destroyed.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I think we could say that he's probably upwards of 150 though.
I mean, he's got to be. I mean, he's been around forever at this point. He was the beginning of the quirk, so I mean, he's got to be really old. But I don't like. I mean, I know All Might was definitely influential, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think he was on the scene when they were trying to figure out this heroing business because if we remember seeing when All Might was still a kid, going to high school and he was talking with Nana Shimurai, his
Hmm.
idea was that he wanted to become the pillar that would support the society. I don't like. I think he was trying to change society on a more like, I guess a more like country wide scene versus globally, which is like
Yeah.
what the change in the heroing would have done to the world. And I don't think he was looking to do that.
Hmm.
Granted, I will say that according to the movies, which are canon, he's been to the U.S. to do some training, so he could have probably maybe found a way to affect places globally. I mean, according to the creator, like every single country has their own like society of heroes, so
Yeah.
it's like one of those things where I don't like know. I'm almost certain that he definitely wasn't around during like the shift of when heroes became a job. Cause he went to
Yeah.
UA when he was doing it, so I don't know. I don't know who would have been like the most influential person. Because All for One also
Mhm.
would have had to been fighting each user a One for All for an eternity at this point.
Really? Does he have a specific reason to fight them?
No, I think just because the ones who inherit one like All for One, One for All, usually I think are antagonize him. I think one of the things
I
he's hmm?
couldn't he have just taken like a Sith approach and disappeared for like.
Well, he did disappear for a while. I mean, I think All Might couldn't even find where he was like during the time the All Might was around.
Right, so it's possible he disappeared for the careers of several people that had All for One. So it's possible there were people that started and ended their career and never even.
I mean, it's possible considering that Chisaki thought he was a myth until he came out of hiding. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like I don't know who would have been. I mean, maybe it's a One for All user who was like the turning point for the society, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't Toshinori All Might because like he's kind of young to be that old. But I don't know. I mean, anime is weird. Anime is weird. When he could be 75 for all we know, we just didn't know it. Coughing up all that blood, but I guess with that is the season finale because we got confirmation of a season
Yeah,
five.
we did.
So the
We
show is
got
going
confirmation
strong.
that season 5 is going to be a thing.
Hmm?
Definitely.
Huh?
Season 5 is definitely happening.
Yeah, the episode ended with saying continuing in season five.
Does
They've
that mean anything though until it's officially announced?
they announced it on the anime episode.
Okay.
As far as like
I
when
didn't
it's
know
going,
if that.
I
I
mean,
didn't
but
know if that counted or not. Like I didn't know if
that
like.
counts because they're saying that's going to happen. Now the time frame when it's going to happen, that's all up to them in the air. We don't know when it's coming out, so we know it's going to happen, but I don't know because of this COVID-19 business. So
Yeah, that's throwing everything off.
when this podcast episode goes up, either we'll be talking about another anime when the next one comes out, or uh we'll be talking about like My Hero Academia season 5 episode 1 when it comes out. I don't know. We haven't decided on the next topic yet.
Maybe we'll just be dead.
Please no. Please no.
By the
Bro,
way, just as a side note, I looked up episode.
you cut out there.
Um, sorry, I was looking at episode 13, and one of the points where I was being kind of quiet. Um, not only did the Nomu survive, but he was just kind of knocked into the trees outside of the school and had no apparent injuries. And he was docile. But I wonder if he was docile because they were using technology to communicate with him. And remember, they were blocking all transmissions, like all communications inside the place. And that's why they couldn't call for help. I wonder if that block also, when he left the area, if that cut his communication with the Nomu so that he just lost the connection.
No,
And that's what
because
it picked up.
during that entire encounter, or during in that facility, Shigaraki was giving him commands.
Right. But I think he lost his connection with it. It only went outside of the school and it was landing in the trees beyond. So
Yeah,
All Might
yeah,
didn't even knock it into the stratosphere. He just kind of knocked it a few hundred feet, to be honest with you. But he knocked it far enough because it was knocked outside of the school where Shigaragi's transmissions were probably cut by whatever was well. So All Might kind of lucked out in that fight because if he hadn't done that, he was totally uninjured and he was outside the building still.
yeah. I get that. I think the thing with the Nomos though, it's kind of a good thing for Endeavor, and I think
Yeah.
that they're mostly designed to fight All Might. Now, thanks to the fact that Endeavor is now incinerated two of their Nomus,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'd be stupid if not to. But I almost feel like the next Nomu we're going to see is definitely going to be fireproof.
Yeah, it would be really stupid of them not to. I don't know. Can they still make new moves
They
now
made
that
this one.
all for one?
They made this one, and this one was like I'm pretty sure this one was made like even after All For One got put in jail.
Did they make this one or was it just left over?
I think they made this one.
Because he talked about how everybody had underestimated it, so that made me wonder if it was just a leftover one from the last run.
I mean, I guess it could. I'm still not. I'm still not going to sit there and say that I don't think they can make no more no moves because I mean, yeah, they lost one facility, but that doesn't mean they didn't have plenty more all over Japan.
Yeah.
And considering that Shigaraki is learning to now move and be patient, um, I said it's still a high possibility that there's another facility out there making no moves, and maybe that's where this one came from.
Yeah.
Granted, I will have to agree that maybe it is a leftover one because it for a reason too. It seems really incomplete. It's like its head is sunken into that like cylinder that they call a neck, and
Mm-hmm.
it like I said before, it was talking, but it wasn't like Endeavor made a big deal that it could talk. But I mean, it was interesting in and of itself, but it wasn't really making a lot of complete sentences. It like wasn't like it was smart, but it was only smart to a point. It almost seems like to me that what they want to do is they want to make these nomus and capable of thinking, but they don't want the nomus to completely be able to think on their own. Because if they could, they probably would like revolt. And we have an entire like Planet of the Apes situation,
This was definitely one of the smarter things I've seen in up against.
huh? What?
This one was a very strong strategist, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was definitely capable. I mean, the thing was like when it was speaking, it wasn't really making a lot of like sentences, but it was capable of dealing with not being able to fight on like somebody like it was like learning. So I'm not
It
saying
was
that
even creative.
I'm not saying it was stupid. I'm just saying that it wasn't like I think it was made smart to a point.
It was even creative to rip off his head and throw. It's going to be incinerated.
Yeah, the problem was too if you do that, the hero is capable of looking at it like capable of looking at you in a split second. He can probably have the hero can figure out what you're trying to do.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the alternative is death, right?
Yeah, I mean that alternative is death, but yeah, I'm just saying that like clearly, I mean it was definitely intelligent to a point, but like it was definitely stupid enough that it sentences like weren't. I mean it was able to make full sentences, but it was stuttering too, so clearly something was going on in his brain.
Yeah.
So like I mean, it wasn't capable of full speech. Now whether I don't know what this means as a precedent because like now they got to worry about more no moves like this one popping up now. Uh, like that one, it took Endeavor incinerating, and I don't think many heroes have the ability. I mean, some of like the students could probably kill them. I mean, Todoroki could probably freeze it and melt it. Um,
Honestly, can you pick any five pro heroes that, other than Endeavor, that combined could?
eh, do Nomos have ears?
Well, his President Mike's ability I think can shock you whether you have ears or not.
Okay, I'm gonna assume that he can do it without hearing. So like, I mean, definitely President Mike. We
Yeah,
already.
I don't think you could have taken this thing off.
I think
I
he
think
could, he could have
President
blown
Mike
up
would
its
have gotten
head.
curb stomped.
I feel like I feel like he could blow up. He could blow up their head. That's all he would need to do to take them down. He wouldn't need to
But
like get into a full on
would he
brawl.
survive long enough to know that and also lethal force?
I'm pretty sure, considering how strong his voice is. I mean, crying out loud, he's able to generate wind pressure. Like, I
But
mean,
I
like,
remember like Endeavor, for whatever reason, because it didn't make sense to me, had crazy durability in this. He was being thrown through. It made no sense to me that Endeavor had that durability.
no, I'm pretty sure. Like, I mean, we don't know what Endeavor did, growing up and stuff like that. And on top of that, we don't know. Like, we only just now learning about his quirk. He only just starts saying the things about his quirk, and I don't know like what the flames do. Because sometimes in any like fantasy, usually flames can like dull impact. Whether they're trying to burn or not. Usually flames are enough of like. I mean, this is just fantasy. Usually flames are enough to dull any impact. I mean, so that's why sometimes you can throw a fiery arrow. That's why I think even with the Human Torch, he was thrown into buildings like daily, but he never really got hurt that badly. You,
Well, yeah, but should he have been able to do that either? And also, in that world, you're not limited to a single quirk. You can have all sorts of stuff. In this one, you get one quirk.
have to keep in mind this man was flying or floating, so
Yeah.
with flames he shouldn't have been able to do that.
Yes, I can believe that though. It's believable to think that someone would do something that a rocket see flames shooting out of a rocket and it stays up in the air. And he even specified it's not that I'm flying, I'm just not falling. He specifically says I'm not flying right now, I'm just falling. And he was like hovering with his thing, and he wasn't flying until he got the feathers.
I think there are things he could have.
Very clear that he couldn't fly.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, in certain fantasies, from what I know, and this is from other animes, like usually you would think, they wouldn't have the kind of like they wouldn't be able to tank some of the stuff that they did. Granted, I will say this. I mean, he might have been tanking things, but he was literally losing a lot of blood. Like, I mean, he was definitely not taking no damage. Like, I mean, another thing too, like I think even his children stated that, like, his daughter actually said that he's stubborn. So that might be what it came down to. Is like he probably wasn't taking these hits. He was just really stubborn. He didn't want to give up. Because I mean,
Yeah,
Natsu,
that makes sense.
because Natsu said that before he just used to get away. I mean, but this is he wasn't. Like, I mean, according to the daughter, he was just he's just more stubborn than any guy out there. Which I don't know if you can. I don't know if you could say he's more stubborn than All Might, but I don't know. I feel,
Well, I
hmm?
hear what you're saying, but like stubbornness is not going to, like his power seemed exaggerated beyond what his quirk made.
You made the same.
Nothing about having super hellfire says that you should be able to go undamaged through a cement wall.
I mean, what you're saying is that he probably should have stayed down. But I mean, honestly, like, I mean, from what I was seeing, the guy was a big dude. He was just as big as All Might. Like, and nothing about super strength or super augmentation should allow you to tank hits as well. And All Might was doing it, regardless of how like legendary his quirk is. All Might was doing it,
It was
and
very clear that All Might had strength and durability as sort of a paired ability. Like All Might, like you expected All Might to take a ton of damage. The only reason Endeavor, I don't know, it's just like if your body is buffed up and super powerful and you can, like if you can punch through a wall, then you can probably go through a wall. And it makes a lot more sense for someone like All Might to be able to have that superpower than someone like Endeavor whose ability is Hellfire, especially no special durability for Icy Hot or Bakugo have ever shown that they're any more durable than any other human being in the episodes.
I mean, if you talking about like exaggeration, I think they did it at All Might. But honestly, I don't really know. I can't give you an answer other than like I know in certain fantasy situations, whenever there's somebody with an elemental ability, for whatever reason, it usually, especially if it covers their body, a lot of times they get thrown into a building. They'll get back up, but it's not like they didn't. It's not like they didn't get hurt.
Yeah,
It's not
but
like it's
the
not.
whole gimmick of this universe is that you have one power ways to it because that's the only power you're going to get.
Yeah, but that doesn't
And
mean you
that's
can't like. There's certain things your power couldn't do. It's like the concept of like if you are if let's see here, what's a good, I guess, what's a good way to put this, like in certain situations, like for instance, if you had the ability to control water, but that's the only thing you knew you could do until you realized that you could like bring the temperature of the water down to make it turn to ice. Like I'm pretty sure there are things that we don't know about his quirk. I'm not 100% confident about that, but like I said before, I don't know because I mean like everybody in this universe gets thrown into buildings. It's a common and everyday occurrence. It's like I mean I
what
don't
if someone gets
think,
thrown in the buildings that shouldn't be?
huh?
Who else would that by being thrown through a building?
Not his power, but like you got people like best Genius got thrown into a building. I think he actually got crushed.
Best Genus is also not even alive. Like he's not even active. As been out for like 1 or 2 seasons as a result of that fight. Like he got it handed to him. You know what I mean? As a result of that, we're just now finding out that he's not dead.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, durability or not, like I don't know how durable he looked to you, but like I mean, regardless, he still was getting knocked around. Endeavor wasn't like it wasn't like I could agree with you if Endeavor sat there and took a punch to the gut or he got a sword through the gut, but he literally
He
was like
got a
every.
hand to the head that shot him through a building.
No, what I'm saying is that when you consider durability, I'm thinking of like if that person doesn't move, like they sit there and take it. Endeavor was being thrown into buildings, all kinds of stuff. He was being knocked around. Like the only thing I would think in terms of anime is willpower. A lot of times, characters just distribute like exhibit things that they probably normally didn't exhibit before. And it's one of the things that in science that apparently human beings' bodies do things that they wouldn't normally be able to do otherwise.
Yeah.
I just attribute it to Endeavor. I mean, whether this is a plot or not, I just attribute Endeavor just being stubborn. Is really what it comes down to for a lot of characters in anime. They will take a hit, and they will get knocked down and out of breath for a hot minute, and they'll get right back up. And it's like, how did they do that so quickly?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those, I don't really know. All I can really say is that it must have been because they bring up that he was stubborn. So like I feel like maybe that was their way of covering their tracks there. Like I said before, I'm just gonna say it again. In other shows, people with elemental abilities or abilities that are kind of like endeavors or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
typically, like if it's a wrap in their body and they get thrown into something or like they get stabbed, usually like they'll still feel the pain, but like whatever it is like like dulling the blow. They're not gonna take on the
Yeah.
full force of it. Plus, on top of that, like, Endeavor is constantly like letting loose lots of flames all over the freaking place too. So I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's his willpower. He didn't want to give up, and he wanted to be able to show the world that at least they can depend on him for right now.
Yeah, and that was very reassuring for the entire world, I'm sure. It'll be interesting to see the halo effect of that if people go, oh, they again. We need to go back to like living in the underworld, and we can't run amok now because Endeavor gonna come get us.
I don't think the villains are gonna go back under because I think the
Mhm.
main reason, and I think this kind of like what All Might had built up as well. Um, as far as we can tell, I think All Might could cover distances pretty fast. just by jumping. So I think what it came down to is like All Might was always like he was always like dealing crime really quickly. Because I think
Yeah.
even Endeavor said he couldn't even cover as much crime as like All Might did. I think I don't really know. I don't remember. He said something about like All Might's crime rate. I think he's trying to make up for it. But
Yeah.
so it was one of those things like Endeavor had a high crime resolution, but I don't think it was as high as All Might's. So some people are probably afraid of him, but I don't think a lot of the heroes are afraid of him. I mean, I know for sure, All for One ain't afraid of him. So I mean, I don't like. I'm pretty sure like the crimes are gonna go up until Endeavor does something that scares the scares them half to death. I mean, considering his quirk is fire, I'm pretty sure he probably could. I mean, like do something about killing somebody. Right now,
Yeah.
the only real reason he could get away with killing a Nomu is because they're freaking zombies. Then again, I don't know that Nomu was human at first.
Yeah, they were all human at first. They're not who they once were, at the very least.
Well, that one could think. And I'm pretty sure all it was thinking when it was dying was hot tamale, I'm sweating.
Oh my god. I shouldn't have had that Mexican food last night.
I don't apologize, and we're going to end up on that note. We'll come back next Saturday or Sunday, I think, with something else.
Sounds good.